Okay, students, today we are going to take a look at how to make sense of the feedback from the grade network. So there's two different types of feedback that we're going to be taking a look at today. The first one is this score sheet. Okay, so depending on your teacher, you might get the top section here where it has, here is the rubric criteria, here is the rough score that you got out of each row for that rubric, and then your total score. Some teachers might give this as, here's your current score and revise it. Some of your teachers might just have you reflect on it, that kind of thing. But you can kind of see the nice thing about up here is that you can see what your strengths are as far as your writing. What are some of those things that you might need to work on a little bit more? So for this student, they did fairly well across the board. They might just have some shorter polishing or revisions to make. The other part that this document is very helpful with is that this sheet also tells you what did you do well. It picks out, here are some things that you were strong in, here are some things that you could that we could see in your writing. Some examples of where this is well, so you can see if you did that well, you can go through the rest of the paper and make sure you do that in other parts of your paper. The other side of this document is taking a look at opportunities for improvement. Okay, gives you feedback. Here's what might be difficult to understand. Each one says, for example. Okay, for example, your introductory paragraph. So it tells you where some of these things might have errors. It can also see, give some feedback about what you would do. Explaining some of the processes more in depth will help your reader to fully understand the issues. Okay, so read through these paragraphs, figure out, well, what is the weakness that you have, and what do they suggest you fix? How does that relate to the resources your teacher has already shared with you? Or, after looking at this feedback, do you now have questions? The next thing that you can do, and this works if you have submitted a Word document of your paper, is they can do inline comments. Now, if you just open it up in OneDrive, you don't see anything. However, if you open it up in Word, technology is so awesome. Okay, you can see that there has been, that the grader from Grade Network has gone through and has given you some feedback. So, for example, this could be a second paragraph. I like this one here. What does this mean? Okay, can you explain more thoroughly? So it specifically points out spots in your text that you might need more clarification on, or you could explain in a either more smoothly worded way, you could explain in more detail some of those different gaps that you might need to fill in or that you might need to polish. Keep in mind that not every piece of feedback is going to be specific, because this person only knows, usually it's only the prompt, the rubric, and maybe some samples. So going through, for example, I'm going to go back to that first piece of feedback. What introductory information they need. This student doesn't need to have a whole lot of information in there. There's, for this paper, some of my students had, well, what happens if you put in a personal perspective? How would that help add? But the thing that these graders didn't realize or didn't notice over the course of the rubric or the prompt was that it was informative. So as they were going through, my students were finding some things that, like, is it good feedback? Yes, but is it going to help with the specific task that your teacher has given you? Not necessarily. So that's where you might have to use either your best judgment, you go to the writing tutor room and you get some help, you ask your teacher real quick, like, this is what they said, do I actually need to do that? I don't think it fits with what I'm trying to do here, that kind of thing. So again, two places that you have feedback. One, the inline comments that you'll only have if you've submitted a Word document, and that's how your teachers have submitted it. This wouldn't work if you had a PDF or if you did a handwrite. And the kind of like the cover page. Overall, what they would give you, remember, this isn't necessarily what a teacher would give you. Sometimes you get like, it depends how your teacher uses this. It might depend on the teacher. Okay, and then the what you did well and the opportunities for improvement. So you have a couple different places that you could start figuring out what you've done well and how you can revise your paper.